Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of the virtual Super Friends celebration. I hope you're having a good time. I know I have been having a lot of fun these last 2 days. We are in the home stretch. We've got some good stuff coming up. Let me just remove this banner real quick. So, this is what we've got coming up for the first half of the day. And I'm just going to pop this banner back up. If you haven't donated, please go donate. We are 75% of our goal. So, again, home stretch, we're going to be picking names for our 3 prizes for our sweepstakes tonight. Now, like I said, I'm having a lot of fun, but it has been a marathon. I'm a little tired. Let's see if I think I can handle it, but this seems like a job. For Superwoman. So for now, I am going to turn this panel over to Carlin. Carlin has been in one of our panels yesterday, but in case you didn't know, Carlin has also been helping out a lot backstage. So thank you, Carlin. Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for being here.
I am thrilled to be here. Let's talk about collecting stuff.
Yes, I'm going to drop out. I'm going to let you do your spiel.
Okay.
So thank you.
Alrighty. All right, guys. There we are. There's my banner head up. So we're going to start off by laying a couple ground rules. As you can see behind me, there are long box after long box of pulp magazines and comic boxes. So yes, I am a dragon sitting upon my hoard. Um, let's move on, and I'm going to throw up a couple little things. When you are starting a collection, it's sometimes good to have a couple rules, or you might wind up with a scenario 5 times bigger than what's behind me. Um, since we are at a Super Friends celebration, here is a piece from my collection that I got in an auction, and I had to go toe to toe with one of the bigger collectors in the world, and fortunately, he caved and let me have it, but it was still several $100s. But this is Danny Kelly, who is a Superman cosplayer, and there was a little girl that was a blonde little child, and she's pointing off to the Superman statue in Metropolis. And my daughter, who is now much older, but she is also a small blonde child, so I had to have this item. So my wife had it nicely framed for me. It has a blue mat around it, and she had it framed in the physical frame itself is covered in a red felt to simulate the cape. So it has been properly preserved. The next item I have here is ah, of course we have to talk about. Um, this is actually a pretty recent purchase. Um, the On the right-hand side, the smaller Iron Man, many of the original Marvel small figures are being re-released, and it's just cool to see them coming back out. And then there's a Legends um, Iron Man over here that just looked kind of cool, and I saw him and I snagged him. So, there's about $30 laying right there. Um, but you'll also notice that we always have to pay attention to the condition of the box. We have to pay attention to the condition of the card. And then you got to make sure that you don't get the sucker bent. This is a picture of, and this Batmobile, I'm not even sure what it's worth anymore, but the Sharper Image Store, when they used to have physical stores open years ago, they had high detail diecast model cars, and they had the Keaton Batmobile and Snag. And now, of course, you'll see this is sitting on a metal frame um, You'll see this is sitting on a metal frame shelf, but there's also a plate behind it that's one of the original 70s plates that came out when the Batman show was on in the late 60s. And if you look at it, if you look carefully in the background, there is a sheet of I have a small sheet of plastic. If I remember right, it's actually an old cutting board I found in the kitchen that was of the appropriate size. So I absconded with it so that there would be a proper footing for the plate holder to sit on. And going since we are doing Superman again, I recently got this. This is another auction item. Um, Sometimes you can get some good deals when you're going into auction. You have to be careful. You have to kind of know what the value of things are. But I just love this cover. It's so dynamic. It's 12 cents. It's from the 1970s. And I mean, Superman's leaning against the wall and his hands are turning green and he's the leper from Krypton. I mean, even the cat in the bottom is scared and running away. I mean, it's just that 1970s camp in that. And that one is bagged and boarded. Um, whoop, I didn't mean to advance that, but I did. Um, the next I have here is it's a piece of original art, and it's of a fairy. My daughter loved it as a child, and so we snagged it. Um, but that is actually a paper mache on a metal background. But it's a beautiful little fairy, and it's got nice lifting to it. Um, that kind of brings me into another thing I'll touch on in a minute. Um, Here is now that things are waking back up. Uh, we recently went to a artist signing at a local comic shop, and it was Pat Broderick, who was one of the original drawers of Tim Drake when they came out with the new Robin. And so I got myself a nice Robin sketch, and I mean, I paid for a torso, and he gave me a torso, but it's a beautiful piece. And if you notice, I haven't mentioned the word print yet. Um, but let's go on and go to the next item. Now, I'm also a big space junkie. I will show you a mug in just a minute. In fact, let me exit out of that. I am sitting here this morning I gotta get the light right for it, but this is my NASA footprints on the moon coffee mug. And I'll go back to this. So obviously, I hearken to space and sciences. So this was something I picked up at my local convention, Mid South Con, and it is a laser print of the lunar rover or the lunar module Eagle. And I just thought it was cool. But I am very slow to buy prints. Um, original art, original art, original art, old comic with a very cool cover. This is the first print that I've shown you. Um, I would always, I would always recommend and advise that you are better off buying quality over quantity. All the artists sell tons of prints. I mean, even when I was meeting Mr. Broderick the other day, for $40, he had he would sign prints of full page sketches, but they were prints. And he probably had 12 to 15 different prints, everything from Firestorm to Robin and different characters. But I could have bought three of those for 120 and they would have been signed prints. But what I have here is a full Robin torso and it was $100. I'd much rather have the original art. So when you're doing collecting, um, one rule is I would tell you to husband your cash and concentrate on getting an original item versus a print. Prints are nice and they have their place, but you'll always do better with the extra quality. Besides, if you frame it, you got to frame 3 of the prints. I'm only framing 1 of the robin. Um, Here's another cool item, and this is actually going to segue. Oh, look, that dragon! It's going to eat us. Um, this is a ceramic piece, um, and you know, it fits into the fantasy genre, obviously, and it's beautifully painted, and it has shown up at Halloween decorations. It has shown it typically lays literally on a buffet table in our dining room, waiting for the scraps and morsels from the table. But you'll notice that I have covered Superman, I've covered Iron Man, and I collected Iron Man back in the 70s before Iron Man was ever cool. I collected him when he was a complete B-list character. You got Batman, we've got fairies, we have space, and we have fantasy. My collection's pretty broad in different areas, but when you start doing your collecting, you don't want to have a hedgerow of bramble bush. You want to have some control and some guidance over what you collect. Um, you would like to have some semblance of order to it. So there's going to be points in time where, let's say, okay, I like the dragon, I like Lord of the Rings, um, but most people like a good horror film, but I don't collect Freddy Krueger. I just drew a line and said, I like it, but I'm not going to go there. It's one more thing. Um, so you'll want to set up a parameter or two. Here is a Star Trek item, and for those that are not old enough to know, that is a phone. It actually rings. It still works, and when it rings, it gives the red alert signal. And the security guard and the science officer. There was a lady at some conventions that um, she makes yarn figures of various pop figures. I have Doctor Who's. I have a whole collection of these figures because I like the people. But I suspended these off of the nacelles of the phone. So there's all kinds of strange, eclectic things that can fill your collection. Down here, we have that is a Romulan bird of prey, and because I am a child of the 70s, that is a Buck Rogers starfighter. Um, Going back toward more comics, um, I these are both recent purchases from an auction. The Superheroes magazine, that is issue 1, and it dates back to 1966. That thing is as old as I am. Um, it's a beautiful cover, and I have not yet read it. And believe me, when I take it out, I will turn it with very careful fingers. And then also for my more science fiction side, there's just this funky, weird science cover with a guy in a blue spacesuit, and he's facing off against some sort of spider crab creature, and he's on this floating platform with multiple rockets. And it's like a flying chair he's on. It's just cool. Um, and that one is from the 70s. Actually, I believe it's 1971 according to the cover. So once again, those are bagged and boarded. You can go into the world of getting comics and magazines slabbed, there is a grading fee and a cost to doing so. But of course, once you slab it, you can never open and read it again. If you intend to do that for a display purpose, I suggest you get 2 copies so that you have a reading copy and your slabbed copy for display. And I'm going to jump over here and make sure we don't have any comments at the moment. No. Okay, I'm going to go back into our pictures. Here is, this is Starman, and this is Carmen Infantino. Carmen Infantino was a guest at the Superman celebration several years ago, shortly before he passed away. And he was one of the original artists on The Flash way, way back when. But once again, it's an original pencil sketch versus getting a print. Um, This next item is a Superman tank. This item is not mine. If you'll notice, there's like little yellow chain link in the lower corner of this picture. This is actually taken at the Super Museum in Metropolis. But the reason I took the photo and put it into this slide is, one, it's a cool toy, but secondly, notice that they still have the box. The toy's in great shape. It's not scratched up, and they have it in a protected plastic display case. Um, in many cases, you can go to one of the places I have found that's really good is there's a place called the Container Store, and the Container Store has um, different sized plastic boxes and that will fit various collectibles. They actually have a small box set designed specifically to hold Pezzes. So if you collect Pezzes or have some Pezzes, that's a to display them. Coming on down. Now this is actually a photo as opposed to the ramble and the stack of storage behind me. This is actually in our den where I have a nice wire metal display shelf. We use it to position our stereo to position the speakers for our stereo system. But I have taken individual photos of these shelves. But you'll notice that all 5 of the shelves have some sort of geekdom on it, and also right beside it, that is an original oil painting. It is by Marion Plumridge. She is the wife of Bob Eggleston, who is a Hugo Award-winning artist. So, along with collecting, I would highly encourage you to attend conventions whenever possible, um, because meeting some of these people and having the opportunity to shake their hand, to actually see their work in person is a wonderful experience. Um, we're going to move on to. I'm going to skip over this for a minute. I'll let you guys park this in the back of your head. But another little piece of my older childhood. Um, you'll notice that these are actually these communicators. They're actually little walkie talkies, and they don't work so well anymore, but they're still part of my collection. And you'll notice that I wound up with a Fangoria poster. I obviously was meeting someone who had a horror background, and I got a small poster of them. And above those are Prose Press, and Prose Press is a pulp story, like hard adventure, pulp detective kind of publisher. So, feel free to pick up some books and add some literature to your life. And we'll go on down here just a little. This item right here, Now, I want to note that this is on the same wire. This is on the opposing wire shelf of the one that I took the photo of. But you'll notice I have it tilted at an angle, and there's shadow. This was actually recently given to me for the celebration of the Apollo landings. A friend of mine who runs a local IMAX theater, who is a talented model builder, he put together an Apollo display, and unbeknownst to me, he made an extra footprint for the moon landing, and he wound up giving it to me. Now, as you can see, it's truly a boot print. I have not yet figured out where I'm going to store this. So as for the moment, it's laying on a bottom shelf of this of one of these cabinets. So it fits with my space collection, but I'm not quite sure what I'm going to really do with it. I love it, but even when you have rules on your collection, they can kind of grow. So now, let's see, that is that's not the first photo. Let's go here. This is the bottom shelf of the wire cabinet. Um, you'll notice there that I have a nice Rocketeer statuary. It's actually a plastic mold that I got years ago. I mean, gosh, I must have gotten that in probably the 90s. Um, in my personal opinion, the Rocketeer is still one of the best comic to movie adaptations that was done. It's probably one of the truer. I mean, the story is probably more complete than many book to movie transitions. And right behind there is a nice. That's actually a lithograph print. It's printed on canvas, and it's a signed and numbered piece. Um, but it is of a dragon lady, and it's just a gorgeous little piece that I liked. And out of curiosity, for any of you that are wondering, my wife and I are also members of the local, or the Memphis has the where I live. Memphis has the National Ornamental Metal Museum, and this frond of lily stand, this frond of stand of they're tiger tails. It was a demo piece that was done and put into auction, and I loved the fact that they used an old chunk of slab marble to simulate murky green water. Um, so we snagged it. Just a different item in my collection, but it's not directly related to comics and collectibles. But you can always collect other things. But once again, go for the quality. Um, I threw this in here. I mean, once again, we're meeting guest stars and things like that. This was a photo from Denise Crosby from years ago. Um, but you'll notice that beside it, um, I picked up the Lego earrings for my wife as a little side gift, which she has worn and received, s- surprised comments when people realize that she has Lego heads hanging off of her ears. But there are different things that you can collect, and it's when you're traveling. The little Star Trek shot glass. I have found that even when I'm on vacation, shot glasses are a great collectible to have. I mean, if you're on an airplane, if you're in a if you're just traveling and you don't have a means of packing something, a shot glass, you can wrap that up and stick it in your pocket. If you had to, you can wrap it in a sock and it's not going to get broken. Um, so over time, I have developed a fairly extensive collection of shot glasses of places that I have traveled. Um, and down below, many conventions will have items on freebie tables. And at the convention that I was at there, um, DC Comics had apparently sent a bunch of freebie pins. So you can collect anything. I mean, those are freebie pins. You've got geeky jewelry. You've got the autographs and the pictures. And you can even do shot glasses, which, as I said, I tend to like those because they're easy to carry. You don't have to worry about it going through security and stuff like that. You're not worried about it getting beat up or bent. And yes, I have been at conventions where I've had stuff FedExed back home and it gets home and the worst I've ever had is I had a corner on some original art get bent. Had to flatten it back out, but it's the crease is still there. So FYI, be aware. Um, you might not want to buy something if you got to ship it. Um, you may just want to wait and buy something when you know you can drive and lay it in your car safely. Um, and I picked this piece. It's a little sketch, obviously. Um, you see the green. Batman has gotten hold of the Green Lantern power ring, and that is by Charles Ettinger, who's a friend of mine. Um, and it was just a little fun piece he did, and it wound up in a charity auction. In many cases, the items that I get um, have been in some sort of a charity auction. Auctions are fun. You never forget the first time you are in an auction and the first time you win. Um, I would encourage longtime collectors, be gracious, bow out, let somebody have a win. Let the young guy, let the young kid have a win. My first convention that I went to, they had an auction, and I should have taken a photo and put it in here, but it was a small ceramic wizard, and I won it for a whopping $13. The opening bid was 10, and I took that. Two other people bid against me. I bid 13, and they bowed out because they knew the thrill of the win. So, um, be sure to support the charities. We have a charity that we're doing here today for the Actors Fund, but doing auctions and charities is always great. I just would say at a certain point, you have more than enough stuff in your world. Spread the love and let other people have the thrill. Uh, the next item I have. Oh, and these are getting harder and harder to find. These are mini reprints. They're called digests, and they're still made today. But some of the original ones, they're really difficult to find now. Um, and I was fortunate enough to be able to snag a fairly good run of them one day. And this is just a set of four that I laid out and took a photo of. You've got um, Adventures, you got Superman, Supergirl, and Justice League all in there. And you'll notice that I think that's Shazam up in the top corner of that one. But anyway, these are all wonderful collections. They're bagged, they sit on a shelf. I have read them, but I treat them with kid gloves. Um, as I was saying earlier, this okay. I showed you um, the laser print of the Apollo module, or the Eagle module, I should say. Um, but this one is of the Martian war machine, and this is from the 1953 movie with George Powell doing the special effects. I just loved it. It's a little numbered and signed piece. Um, again, prints have their place, particularly if they're numbered. Um, but I just loved that piece right there. If anyone's a classic movie fan of old science fiction and horror, you should be jonesing on this right now. Um, let's go back up a little bit here in the picture slides. This is another shelf of this is the second shelf of that wire shelving that we use for our speaker system. And you'll notice that I have one of my daughter's camp. That's a boat that she made at a camp, and it's all painted up and has her little butterfly and her star on and her shooting star on it. Um, but right beside it is the TARDIS, and so it's small little pieces can decorate and make your house very interesting. The top of the shelf, I'm missing one shelf picture somewhere, and I guess I'll find it. But the top of the shelf has a Telosian head, and I was very fortunate with this because this was made in about 72. A friend of mine was running a table in a dealer room, and I walked up, and he saw me, and I looked at this, and because we were friends, and this is what where being a collector and being able to tell these stories about knowing people and being friends with people and having these relationships over time. He gave it to me for $50 because he knew that it was going to the right home. So, there's an aspect of sharing within the collecting community that um, is just something that and it's a form of family. It's just a form of family. So, once again, form your friendships. Don't be greedy. Always uplift the next generation of collectors. Um, this one right here. Now, this is an original piece of art. And I don't know if Trevor's even online or not this morning, but Trevor Hawkins, good guy. Um, I actually got this at the Superman celebration, but he painted the interior, pilot set or I should say, bridge set for Lost in Space. And I didn't flip it over, but it's signed by two of the actors. But it's a gorgeous piece, and I treasure having it in my collection. Um, and I also got to help my friend be able to pay his bills for a day or two. Um, I'm moving on to someone else's panel, and I don't want to do that. So that's just a sampling of the collection of items in my collection. And I see that we have comments. So, ah, John is listening and having a great day while he's driving. And Rose Bombeck, let's show that. Well, show. She loves the TARDIS. And I'm not sure what that was in reference to, Rose, but thank you. And oh, you remember seeing, okay, you must be referring back to the Superman statue photo that was the inspiration for the original piece of art that was the first item I showed. I believe you're referring to, I think you are referring to this item here. So, Rose, I appreciate you participating. Does anyone else have any more questions before I kind of start rambling through some collectional rules? I'll give you a second to respond. Well, okay, I don't see a response, another comment coming in, so I'm going to switch back over. I'm going to take this picture down, and I'm going to come back on and let you see my face for a while. Um, so me and well, the camera just screamed out for a minute. It is blacking my Iron Man out. Anyway, that is an Iron Man figure. There he is. He's showing up better that way. So Iron Man is flying through the scene. Um, miscellaneous collectibles at hand reach. That is the sign of a collector. Um, rule number one: don't be greedy. Rule number two: You got to set parameters on your collection. Um, Obviously, I'm a science fiction and comics guy, and I do fantasy too because I like Lord of the Rings. Um, but my wife and I years ago got into collecting Snow Village. Well, there's tons of Snow Village, and there's different types of buildings in Snow Village. And to set parameters on your collection, we knew we had to do this because obviously I collect all this other stuff. So what we did is we decided that we modeled our collection of buildings on our own life. Um, Her parents at the time had a home in Sardis, Mississippi. So they were down in the country by Sardis Lake, and we were living in town. We were the city mice. So what we did is we had the town of Nakomi and we had Dillerville. So if we bought a piece, it had to fit within the country motif of Dillerville, or it had to fit into the tranquil town of Nakomi, which was our version of, say, Mayberry. And if it didn't fit, we didn't buy it. Um, so you have to do the same thing with your science fiction and your comics. Um, if you are a Batman collector, don't branch off into Blue Beetle. I mean, it'll you'll go crazy because with Batman, you've already got the Joker and a whole rogues of villains. The same with Superman. Um, the same. I mean, how many X-Men books are there in the comics universe? Bunches. You've got to be sure that you can control the scope and scale of your collection. Um, if you don't do that, it's going to look disconnected. Oh, you're looking at the Lost in Space artwork. Ah, okay, but you really like the okay. Well, Rose, I am so glad you are participating. So keep on throwing those questions. So, you know, make sure I've got something reflecting on my chest. It's probably going to be another toy. All right. Um, that's better. Cameras cameras fritzed out for a second. So make sure that when you're collecting that you contain the scope or you're going to wind up 5 times worse than what's behind me. And what's behind me is literally probably at this point 30, 40, it's 30 to 40 years. It's a good 30 years. What's behind me is a good 30 years of collecting that I will need to purge through, and I'm probably going to sell off part of it. Um, so there's only, and if you look over my right shoulder, there is a plastic cup. Let me move that way. There you go. There is a plastic cup, and that is from the Rocketeer. That one's not leaving my collection. Um, and John Pica comes in. I collect Marvel Legends action figures and Star Wars Black action figures, but not everyone. For the Marvel Legends, you focus on the Avengers, specifically Captain America. Yes, you are containing the bramble of the hedgerow. And for Star Wars, your focus is on female characters and the villains, specifically Darth Vader. Okay, that's a good rule to have, John. And I've seen you clean out and John, I remember when you were having to clean out your garage. Um, I wish I wasn't 4 hours away because I would have come and taken a couple items off your hands. Um, so yes, John Pica knows all about containing the scale and scope of a collection um, to try and have it look nice. You know, so let's not be greedy, guys. Let's uplift the nation and make sure you set ground rules, and then you got to know how to preserve it. I mean, some items. I mean, that the Batmobile. I mean, it's a diecast car. I mean, short of me rolling it around and, bang it into the walls. I just need to go dust it every now and then. It's pretty, it's pretty solid. Same for the plates. I mean, it's a plate, and you don't throw it like a frisbee. Um, Another thing you might want to consider is the colors in this comic book. This is 1970s paper. It's not like they made this with a high degree permanent ink. So I would never put this in a directed light source of like an open window where every day direct sunlight swept across it. Um, this this painting here, it's when I had it framed and hanging in my office at my day job, I actually opened up the windows to my office, and for literally a period of a month, I studied where the light in the office fell coming through the window for literally a month. And that was just to make sure that I was accounting for having cloudy days or something, so I knew what was really happening before I even hung this, because I did not want to put it in a position where it would experience light fade and light damage. Um, and John just kicks in again. This will sound odd too, but when you think of collect from the attitude of abundance, that means being very satisfied with what you have and understand you never need anything. Instead, think hope to have one day. That is a really, really good comment, John. That's hope to have. Yeah, I mean that embraces the concept of you're going for quality over quantity. You'd much rather have a signed hardback of a particular book than to have a dozen copies of the paperback with different covers. Yeah, the hope to have one day is a really good idea. That's a good concept. Let's see, is there anything else I wanted to bring up here? Because we're coming up, but we got about 20 minutes left in this panel. So I'm looking for a few more comments, but I'm going to pop back onto this one again. I'm going to talk about family for a minute. Oh, here's one. Here's one right down here. Okay, this item here. Oh, here is, before I talk about that, I'm going to go here. Here's the other shelf in the wire shelving. Um, And a lot of times as collectors, we're recapturing our childhood. And you'll see I found, and I'm pretty sure that one has the thermos in it. But obviously, being a child of the '70s, Battlestar Galactica was part of my jam. So I have that sitting in the background. And the ceramic statuary, this is an oddity, and I'm actually still trying to find a companion piece to it. Years ago, Vincent DeFate, the artist, was commissioned to design a moonscape city. And there's actually two other pieces to this, and I have one of them. So, I mean, kind of, you've got to have the grail that you're searching after. And these there are two companion pieces to this, but I have the box and I've met Mr. DeFate, and the um, he has signed the box, but this was they took a painting of his and turned it into a sculpture, and they did it with two other pieces, and obviously there is a seashell from one of our family trips. Um, oh, I missed a couple things. I'm going to hop back around here. Let's see. We did that. We did that. We did that. Oh, yes. Here we are. You got to train them early. Train the kids early. You notice that Supergirl, and that is a George Perez sketch, and the Batgirl is Ned is Beatty. They both were at a Superman celebration a couple years ago. So train the kids early and what they should be looking for. Also, this means that when you pass away, your collection will be properly curated and not just thrown out. So make sure that the kids and the wife understand the value of what you have. Now, let's go back and talk about family. And I don't even know, I doubt he's on this morning, but there's a gentleman by the name of Eric Crimmins here locally, and he's primarily a horror collector, and he runs a little thing called Eric's Stash, which is his collection business. And when the pandemic hit, he had to go into doing Facebook Live auctions. Well, being his friend, I log on to his auctions periodically, and I'm being supportive. Well, I log on one night, and he basically pauses his auction and goes, "Oh, oh, oh!" He was auctioning off. You'll notice that this is in Spanish. He had Spanish lobby cards of some old Vincent Price horror films, and he finished those off. And I actually bid on one and lost it. But he sees me out there bidding, and he pauses his auction and goes, "Hold on, guys, hold on. I've got something for my buddy Carlin." And he scampers off for a minute, and we have dead air. And he comes back, and here's the story behind this. There's another local guy here, and I know he's not on this morning, but we all call him Mr. Roberts. He made one token bid against me on this, and I wound up getting this. This is an original lobby card for Flash Gordon. It is 80 years old, and I got it for $35 because when Eric saw me in the bid, he knew that when he had found an old gentleman, Mexican guy, who was running an old theater, and he was retiring and he was shutting everything down. And what the man had done is every time the movies ended, he went to the lobby card case, took the lobby card out, and dropped it in a box. This original Flash Gordon lobby card laid in a box for literally 80 years for a collector friend to find it, and then for me to log in on his Facebook auction in a supportive role, and then him say, "I know where this belongs." I treasure this piece because not only is it really, really cool of science fiction history, not only is it, being Spanish, is it multicultural, but this was literally given to me by a fellow collector. And even though it was in an auction and I had another friend poke at me a little and make me bid again, um, it was effectively given to me by the collecting community because they wanted me to have it. So that's kind of a just my story on that. Um, And oh, here's another shot of I laid this out. We just got this couch back and had it reupholstered, so you'll have to ignore the yellow, the gold tone. But I came back in from a Superman celebration, obviously, and you'll see on the left-hand side is the Daily Planet newspaper with the guest list. They were apparently that year they had a bunch of frisbees and they were throwing them out from the stage, and I wound up getting hit with one. I didn't catch it. I got hit with it. There's an old Slurpee cup from the Superman movies when they were coming out. If any kid has not had a Slurpee, go find a 7-Eleven and take your kid for a Slurpee. Um, there was a nice that mug, the art on it that year. Lynn Workman, who is probably known to several people, he's a member of the Super Friends. He actually did the promo artwork for the for the celebrations T-shirt that year, and I bought the mug as a remembrance of him doing the art. Um, you'll see a painting that I picked up in the background. There's a book on Superman, and you'll see again I like the older books, the digests, the oversized treasuries, and I love that Fortress of Solitude with Superman picking up the giant key to open up the fortress door. And there's another piece of art, or the corner of a piece of art, and that's actually spray can art. All of that was done with a spray can, and using forms and hard objects to create the angles. It was fascinating to watch it being painted. Um, so I, uh, I've had a really fun time collecting things. And oh, we have more comments. The comments looks like they've exploded. I'm coming back over. I'm sorry, guys. I was yapping. Um, yes, you are correct. Let's see here. Oh, I'm sorry. I got to scroll back up. Uh, oh, Phoenix Sisters. No, Dad. No, Dad. Really? Okay. I'm glad these comments were over here. Um, and my daughter just, oh, the Phoenix Sister. No, Dad. My daughter is actually adminning. Oh, Lordy. I'm going to get a talking to after this. So let's go through some of the comments here and let's see what we have. Uh, Rose says that she has boxes of comics too in my basement. Get them out of the basement. That's a moisture trap. Um, you stopped buying them last year because they were really cluttering up the house. That can be a problem, hence the hedgerow. Um, you were reading them much more, still like to get the Batman comics or just the trades. Hey, trades are good. Trades are good. I mean, if you want to read them and you can still take trades and get them signed and have the experience, I got no problem with trades. In fact, I bought 4 trade paperbacks for my daughter just a week or two ago. Um, they've all got their place. And yeah, yeah, okay. You love the old metal lunch boxes. Oh, John, if you and I ever go treasure hunting together, it might be we might have to have a rock paper scissors battle on who gets what, because we probably be looking at some of the same stuff. I remember when you were at that Tennessee Flea and you picked up that book and record of the $6 Million Man, dude. I felt my chest tighten. I was like, "Oh, is there a duplicate? Please tell me there's a duplicate." Um, And of course, there's my daughter. This is great for anyone out there. No, dad. Okay, I'm sorry, baby. We can talk later. Remember, I've got comics worth hundreds of dollars. You're gonna have a great retirement because by then they'll be worth thousands. Um, oh, Vincent of Fate, love his art. Yes, he's. Oh, and if you ever get to meet him, he's just a stellar man. He was wonderful. I'm still friended with him on Facebook. I don't get to talk to him much, but a lot of times you friend artists and guests when you're doing conventions, and 5 or 6 years later, you haven't had much contact with them, and either you or they defriend the other because they're like, well, I don't talk to that guy anymore. Vincent still pops up from time to time. Um, Next one, if you have to choose between original art or a print, always choose the original art. Yeah, buddy. 80 years old, it looks brand new. Yeah, that's because it laid in a box and was protected, and now it's my turn to protect it, Rose. Hence the reason I framed it. And and obviously John is now back in a place where he can actually see, because yes, you are correct. The Flash Gordon piece is epic. Um, and it's epic not just because of what it is, it's because of the story behind it. And I hope you enjoyed the story. Um, and then yeah, yeah, getting hit in the head. Yeah, I was trying to take a photo. I was too busy trying to take a photo and got whopped in the head. I kind of think Josh Boltonhouse, who is the Superman, I think he did that just to have a little fun with me because he saw me standing out there and went, "I'm Carlin's attracted. I'm gonna pop him in the head," and I think he did. He'll never admit to that though. Um, yeah, not many 7-Elevens around, but Slurpee machines still exist. And Yeah, yeah, the oversized treasuries. I'm not sure about how we would. John, we've got to put our heads together on that one. I got a friend that works at a framing shop. I wonder if we can come up with a good idea. Oh, and John, are you serious? Are you serious? They're making a comeback? Yes, Tennessee has Exxon Tiger Market, and they're converting to 7-Elevens. That is great news, John. And since my daughter is adminning, you just wait, baby, because when I see a Slurpee machine with a collectible cup, and it's something cool that I think you or I want, you and I gonna get sore throats drinking Slurpees. Come on, guys, give me an amen on that. Let's all get sore throats from sucking down Slurpees to get the collectible cup. And okay. And I see Sean O'Connell's sitting out there, so I guess he's coming in for the next panel. So glad to have you, Sean. Hope you're enjoying the chat, and I hope you were here long enough to see a few things. Uh, got something going on over here, and we'll come back to comments. You know what? I've let this sit for a minute. I'm going to bounce back through here. Um, okay, here's the original Superman and little girl, which I always envision as my daughter, whether or not it's not. It's obviously it's not, but hey, Jim Hembrick, who owns the Super Museum, is the guy I was bidding against, and anyone that knows who Jim is, knows that if he wanted to, he could have financially crushed me on buying this. So again, he realized that I wanted it, really, really wanted it, and he bowed out. Um, You got some Iron Man going on. We got our Batman. We got our 1970s hokey Superman cover with the scared cat and his hands are turning green. My daughter's cool fairy. This this is this was one of the latest additions to my collection. The very nice Robin. Nice cool 1969 lunar lander and a little laser sketch. There be dragons in this home. And I always try to boldly go. Got ourselves a little Buck Rogers action. Pika might fight me for that one. And I can't wait to go back and look at that superheroes. I mean, when they put this thing out, I mean they got the original Phantom, Captain Marvel, Flash. This is going to be a great read. I'm gonna be going down memory lane on this one. Infant Carmentino or Carmen Infantino. Um, Unfortunately, they don't work right no more, so I'm kind of stranded on the rock. They can't beam me up. Let's be sure to train them young. And this is one of the prides of my collection simply because of the love that was shown to me when I got it. And just for John, here's some nice old treasuries for you to see. And for Trevor, if he's out there, there's your piece of art. And don't ever go near Talos 4. That's the only place that still has the death penalty for going there. So, oh, we have a few more comments. Apparently, people like the Slurpee discussion. Oh, you don't like Slurpees? Well, then Daddy's going to be really sick. Um, and you're not doing sugar no more, so you just buy the collectible cook and throw the Slurpee away. Okay, I get it. I get it. I get it. You might at least take a sip, though, old time's sake. Rose likes the little girl. You like the fairy? Yeah, you love that Buck Rogers. Okay. Uh, and Rose, this was me. I mean, I barely left my den to do this. And crowning jewel of my collection is a Marvel Star Wars comic #1, the 30-cent edition and mint condition in an archival frame. Oh, that's pretty sweet, John. That is pretty darn sweet. Well, we are at the end of time for this. And Ginger, let's see here. Let's go back over let's go back over here. I want to thank all of the sponsors. Um, I believe the ones across the top are actually financial contributors, and everyone else below is also supporting. But we want to thank all the people that have sponsored this convention. And I need to come down. I need to find the promo link for the Actors Guild. Ginger, do you see that as the? I do not see the promo link. Ginger, I could use your assistance on that.
This convention is also a fundraiser for the Actors Fund. The Actors Fund fosters stability and resiliency and provides a safety net for performing arts and entertainment professionals over their lifespan. You can support the Actors Fund by following the link below and donating. Every donation also enters you into our sweepstakes and gives you a chance to win these fantastic prizes.
Would you like to have control at this moment?
Yes.
Okay, let me make that happen for you.